Mhm.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Humans of Horses podcast. My name is Elle, and I am the human of three wonderful horses, Fion, Zirconia, and Morgan, including Morgan, which my guest today, Elsa, and I were just briefly talking about. We were talking about electric fencing and how Morgan has the skill to go through it with all four legs without damaging it. But on that note, Elsa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi Elle. So nice to meet you. I like that we're Elle and Elsa. Just fun. Uh, I live over here in Montana in the States, and I am human to six equines. Dakota, Ariel, Edith, the bear, Kiara, and Miko. My own little fun herd of a couple Mustangs, quarter horse, Shetland pony, and a gypsy cross. And yeah, they're an awful lot of fun. We have an awful lot of fun together. As far as like introducing myself, I always kind of like to pause and be like, what wants to come through in this moment? How do I want to be received? Um, I think I'd like to be received today, introducing myself as just someone who's trying, someone who's going with the flow, following my intuition and trusting that where the horses are guiding me, where I'm being guided alongside the horses, is where I'm meant to be. And that looks differently for everybody, obviously. And for right now, for me, it really looks like activating the embodiment of patience that I've had to work through the last 5 years of trying to be on the same property as my horses and be with them. And that patience also waiting to be enlivened with them. Like, getting to work on getting them under saddle, waking up in the morning and having my coffee with them, different things like that, getting into a bunch of the fun, different disciplines that we as a partnership really desire to get into. And so that's me today. I'm someone who's trying.
Love it. So what actually came up for me then was to ask, you mentioned that your horses are on your property, and that sounds like a recent transition. Um, so how has that been for you, transitioning from them not being there to them being there
Well, we still
and
aren't
living with
together.
them?
Yeah, we still aren't.
Okay.
It's been 5 years. They're like 40 minutes away. At my grandpa's, now my uncle's property, is big, beautiful pasture and things. And it's been a lot of ups and downs of like, I am incredibly grateful that that's where they're at. It makes my life a lot easier knowing that they're on this big, beautiful pasture, with good access to food and water and things and whatnot. But yeah, the hardships of not getting to have that consistent intimacy, of being with them day in and day
Mm.
out has made a lot of our desire to embark on horse human adventures, be it riding, packing, ski joring, et cetera, kind of on pause because it's like, well, I'm not with them every day and it's hard to get out and like train them when I'm with them. Because we just have an awful lot of fun.
Mm.
But we are really kind of in that space of like, all right, one foot in front of the other though. Like we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. We're really getting somewhere. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks here, I'll actually just have like a travel trailer that I'll put on the pasture. So I can be out there with them and with my dogs. And we're all very ready, very much in a lot of anticipation of that, but also like trying to stay grounded through it all.
That's really interesting. I relate a lot to that actually, because I went from prior to April seeing my guys every single day, taking care of them every single day, to now seeing them once every 2 weeks.
Mm.
And yeah, I don't know if you want to share um what that experience for you was like. For me, it's like totally shifted our relationship because, as you said, you can't make quote unquote progress in the same way that you can when you're with them every day. But it's like the value of your time shifts and the way you show up shifts, I found.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's because I get to see them, you know, uh, about 5 days a week. I still go out and see them and try and spend, a few hours with them and things, if not more. But yeah, the like the intention of our time and how we will experience it. If I go in there with an agenda of like, oh, like let's maybe, halter a couple of them up and go on walks around the pasture or even off property down the
Mm.
road or something, I might show up and they're like, no. that's not happening. That's not what we're doing today. And as much as we all love getting to, sit and just be, we do a lot of sitting and being, a lot of energy work together, a lot of, I'm animal communicators. We do a lot of communication, a lot of body work and things and stuff.
Oh, awesome.
And there are definitely times where we're doing that, and that's what the horses have asked to do. But there still is this little voice in my head going, but we could be doing something. And it used to say we could be doing something more. And I know that that's not
Mm.
true, that in those moments, we're doing all that we, need to do. And it's very wonderful, magical, and appreciative because it's developing and strengthening our relationship so much just to hang out and chill, with everybody. Sometimes I bring my lunch and we have meals together, or I'll bring tea and we have like a tea party together, and it's super fun. Um, but I think that part of me that really has these visions of what we want to do together can get a little frustrated with the slowness of as things have gone. Um, but she also gets very, or not she is very understanding of how important, our time spent together is, and the fact that it isn't this consistent, ritual, or, scheduled time together, that it's what it as important as any other training that we'll ever do going forward.
Mm. So, what brought you here today onto the podcast?
Yeah, you had made that Facebook post a while back about like, or I think it was a Facebook post
Mm.
and an Instagram story, and about looking for some folks on your podcast. And my herd more than anything, and myself, I'm not going to say like I didn't. I was like, hey, I haven't been on a podcast in a hot minute. I haven't even like spoken about horses to anybody outside my like core group of people that I talk to about horses all the time. And I think that curiosity felt really fun to connect with you as like, hey, I could use some like other horse people to talk to. And stuff, just because when we talk to other horse folk, we get different insights and opinions and perspectives on things that we can, get so just kind of caught up in our own steps with things, as I'm so at this point kind of
Mm.
not in a routine, but I'm very aware of what I do and how I do it. And so it's fun to connect with other people and then learn from them as well, even if it's just like a podcast conversation or a casual conversation, to be able to go, oh, wow, like Elle does that with her horses. That sounds kind of fun. Maybe I might bring it to my horses and say, hey, guys, you like Elle does this. Do you guys want to give it a go?
I love that. That's really
Yeah.
cool. I mean, yeah, the big topic that's coming up for me. So, the way I kind of do these podcasts is I literally just go with the flow and see what comes up in the moment. And what's coming up for me as a potential topic to explore is animal communication,
Mm,
because that's something that's new for me. Because it's always kind of be simmering in the background. But so I've recently moved from the Netherlands to the UK, which is where I'm from. And since coming here, stuff started to open up a lot more, and I'm starting to understand, oh, this is animal communication. These are things I'm receiving from not just my horses anymore. Like sometimes stuff just comes and I'm like, can this not come? Like I'm not asking for this to come, but it just
mhm.
comes.
Yep.
So how is that journey for you as an animal communicator?
Yeah. I've been an animal communicator my whole life. When I was a kid, I did it a lot because I didn't grow up with animals. And so it was my only
Mm.
means of connecting to them. No matter how much I begged my mom for a dog or a horse or a giraffe, of course, as every kid does, it was always a no, always. And so to placate that part of myself that needed to be around animals, I had to communicate with them when we'd be driving by and seeing cows in a pasture, seeing horses in a pasture, or driving through town and I see someone walking a dog. And even if it was just like as a little kid, I'm sending out like a hi, hello, like I'm just sending you love. And I always knew that it was received. And I think just as a kid, that kind of locked in a little bit to me in that intuitive space of me being able to trust myself and to believe that it's possible, to believe that it happens. That yes, I'm communicating with an animal even as I'm driving by really fast. Well, I'm not driving
Mm.
passenger, obviously. In the car as a kid, But then as I got older, I got my first dog 13 years ago, and it was a lot of like inactive animal communication, of, him. I wake up as he's like coming to walk up to me in the middle of the night to us to go outside. A lot of me just like feeling like the element of water and then looking at his water dish and it's empty. Things like that and stuff. We're going on a walk and all of a sudden he seems a little nervous about something. And then we turn a corner and there's like this guy, and I'm not trying to profile here, just as the experience has happened, someone who's a little on the creepier side walking towards us. Different things
Mm.
like that. But then in 2020, it was when, all hell broke loose for everybody, globally and stuff. And so my hell breaking loose was really being thrust back into that world. And that type of conversation and communication actually became a lot easier for me than it was to even converse with people, and stuff. And at that point, I had 3 dogs and I was moving back from Alaska. I had been living up there for 2 years. And then the horses kind of beckoned me home back to Montana, um, to the point of physical discomfort, where I was living up in Alaska and just like horses everywhere, horses everywhere. And I'm like, this is Alaska. There's hardly even any horses up here. There's not, but it's not like horse culture heavy up there like it is in Montana. And when I came home to Montana, which I'm loving that there's kind of a parallel for you being in the Netherlands and coming back to the UK and things are kind of happening for you as well.
Mm.
Because that's what happened for me when I came back to Montana. It just was like an open telephone line. And it took a lot of learning, trial and error, discernment, to kind of find my own animal communication frequencies and work with my clair senses to go, this is how it's comfortable and confident and safe for me to communicate with animals. This is how I'm available for them, how we can converse and connect together, and stuff. And it's really changed my I won't say it's changed my life. I'll say that it's expanded my life into what I always as a little kid wanted my life to be, which was talking to animals, hanging out with them, working with horses and dogs, and all other sorts of animals, for work and things, and stuff, and really just expanded the potential for that to be possible. And my horses now, being a herd of
Mm.
6, they all found me through animal communication. I never actively saw a horse. I've yet to actively seek one. They've all found me. And so they've shopped for me. Like I always say, like I didn't shop for a horse. My horse has shopped for me and found me. Um, and hmm, there's kind of this, let's see, who is that? There's my horse Bear and Pharaoh.
Hi,
And a
Bear
horse, yeah,
and
Bear
Pharaoh.
and Pharaoh. Pharaoh's not with
Hey.
us anymore. Um, but they're kind of here saying like, as an animal, it's so nice to come across a human that's on, if you will. Like they've taken the time to turn that
Mm.
switch on and to leave it on because, and they're using anecdote now of like every single being on the planet and not on the planet knows what it feels like to be unreceived and unheard. I think when
Mm.
you were a kid and you're like, Mom, 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 I want something. And she's like, no. Or like, or she doesn't listen.
Yeah.
Or you're at school and you're asking your teacher for help and they don't listen.
Oh gosh, yeah. Or like, you're trying to say, "Hey, I'm being bullied," and the teacher's just not noticing it at all. And those
Yeah,
needs, you're then not met as who you are, or you're like told you're a liar or whatever. And you're like, "No, I'm telling the truth."
true. Yep. And so Bear and Pharaoh are kind of saying that, like, that's how horses and all animals feel an awful lot. Is we're sitting here with so much to say and feel to you and know to you and love to you. And a lot of times it's just unreceived. It's kind of met by a brick wall. And so, Bear and Pharaoh are
Yeah.
saying that, like, we're very appreciative of Elsa in this moment, because that's the realm of conversation, that she's taken the time to take that brick wall down.
They are absolutely welcome in this conversation. And if anyone else joins us, that's
Mhm,
also totally fine.
mhm.
More physically, my cat,
Mhm.
I don't know if listeners will be able to hear it, but every time you were talking, I saw like my picture activate every time she was snoring, 'cause she's
Oh,
currently snoring. So if anyone's hearing really weird noises, it's my cat snoring.
oh, I love it. I love
Ah,
cat presence.
but
Mhm.
anyway, so she's here. But aside from that, Zirconia has come up, and so she wants to share that um so she's become more and more vocal, and it's really, really cute because when I'm with her now, she does all these little teeny tiny, like the tiniest little noises I've ever heard a horse make
Mhm.
when she's with me. And I really feel like she's telling me, like, almost like she's telling me what's been going on the last 2 weeks since I've not been there, like between my visits. And
Yeah.
she's really there just making these tiny little noises. It's amazing. Like every time I'm like, I wish I could capture that, but it's so teeny tiny. And I've
Mhm.
never seen a horse do that. It's really cool.
Oh, beautiful. I love when horses are vocal, like, because we all know that they
Yeah.
are, but there's also this, like, oh, they whinny and they neigh and they, like, snort, and, like, that's it. Like, but they
Mm.
have a really wide vocal range if they, like, are asking
Yeah.
to be
And she
heard
definitely
by
does.
you and stuff, and, like, you're also available to be there present and listen, like, that's I love that she's doing that for you and kind of, like, yeah, filling you in on everything, like, "Hey, this is what you missed." Mhm.
That's really what it feels like. It really feels like that. And it's just so beautiful because yeah, to that's one of the big shifts that's happened for her moving countries. Is she's found more and more her voice and just
Mhm.
offers it. She's not like shutting it down anymore.
Oh, cool. How was that for you and the horses moving? Like, how did that experience for all of you guys?
It's been overall amazing, and actually I was recording with a friend prior to you a few days ago, and she's called Poppy Peach, and she specializes in so she's a trauma informed trainer,
Mhm.
and she was saying that's just about as much about dealing with trauma and supporting trauma as it is preventing trauma. And she says the way you moved your horses, that's something that could be extremely traumatic for them, but it's like there's just no trauma at all for them because of the way we did it.
Mhm.
Um, and it feels like they're home. Well, they're not in their forever home, but they are home, and that they've really landed in the UK and connected to like the peace that it has to offer them, and just the ability to ground themselves and regulate their nervous systems in a way that wasn't available to them in the Netherlands.
Oh, beautiful. No, I love, like, it's
Yeah.
so again, it's just one of those things that can be very easily overlooked at the time of, and then, yeah, if it's a traumatic moving experience, later it'll come up. We're like, "Oh, now they're struggling with this," or this seems to be an imbalance or, like, a disconnect for them where it wasn't maybe prior, um, and stuff, and I think
Mm.
that moving's such a powerful thing, not only, like, via the experience of being aware that we're all moving together, horse, human, cats, if you
Mm.
have dogs or things or whatnot, but to go, there's you know, a location, a latitude and longitude, a land and all that encompasses and embodies that land in essence, the land spirits, the ancestors of the land, all of the elements,
Yeah.
the flora, the fauna there, where we do find a little more participation in, where we feel a little more included in that, if we want to use the word belonging, we can use that. Um, and stuff. But again, just kind of being able to come into that space of safety and being received by a location, by a place. And even if it's, yeah, not the forever home, still having that sense of peace of like, we're getting closer feels
Yeah.
so good. And when we
And I
when we include
think,
the animals. Mhm.
yeah, I think we have a bit of a delay, but that's cool because it
Okay.
also helps slow us down. And
Exactly.
so I'm all for that. Um, but I think for Fion, so I mentioned this as well just on a previous episode just now. but I think he manifested me into his life, and that he was always meant to come to the UK with me.
Mm,
And even his previous owner said that that was his path, was to, she calls it, find full happiness together in the UK.
mm,
And I think we're getting there because he was the horse that if I took him in the Netherlands, like 5 meters outside of his home, he would be over threshold immediately. And like, I've had severe rope burn from trying to walk him out. And I actually gave up at one point. I was like, okay, if this is something we never do, that's completely fine. And in the end, since moving to the UK, all of a sudden he was telling me, let's go out, let's go out. And I'm like, are you sure?
yeah.
Like, and he's been completely fine. And last time I was with him, we went with my mom, and we went 10 minutes down the road all the way to the beginning of the forest, and he did amazing. And I just showed him like the gate that goes into the forest, and I was like, look, Fionn, this is the forest. We can go explore it one day when you're ready. And that was really cool.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. It's, yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot to the land and what it like can support us in, and we can support the land. It's
Yeah.
I always like to bring up that like I love that the land's coming up, because that's something I always point out to clients and people is the land is just as much a part of the relationship as the horse and the
Yeah.
human. It's like not to be discredited or unacknowledged or ignored. It's very important.
Yeah. It's so true. And what's come out for me to share is, so Morgan, interestingly, Morgan is, her mum actually came from the UK, which is
Oh,
quite
cool.
cool. So she's kind of, unfortunately her mum has passed on now, but she's now come back to the land, the birthland of her mother.
Wow.
And for the other two, I think they're just, I guess, yeah, they, like you said, the horses kind of choose you in a way. And so I think they knew that by choosing me, it was always part of their journey to come back here too. And because I'm grounded and landing here, and like I have the most energy I've had in years, and I like emotionally, mentally, physically, I'm in the best place I've been in years. And I'm like, I think it's because I'm where I'm meant to be finally. But I needed to go to all the other places first to get to where I am, to meet myself in the version of myself that I need to be now here, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Oh, absolutely. That's it. It's been kind of that same ride for me as well, that I've been figuring out and whatnot. Having like when I went to Alaska back in 2018, I definitely was kind of running away, but it came to be I was running towards, you know, who I was becoming and what I really needed to learn about myself. Um, and then when I left Alaska, I was being called to come back to Montana. But then when I came back to Montana, it almost was like oh, I'm actually just here to grow and then gather the soul family, all the dogs and the horses that have come to, um,
I love that.
yeah, that have all come to be with me since then. I found them all in Montana, and they're like, yeah, you had to be here. Otherwise we couldn't have found you. But we are having
Yeah.
to really allow ourselves to go, but we do want to be back in Alaska someday. And as like a return home, because
Mm.
I always felt more at home in Alaska than I have anywhere else. And I've only lived in Alaska and
Oh,
Montana.
interesting.
And a little bit, I lived in California for a year, but that doesn't count, but it doesn't not count either. um,
I'm
but
having a
Alaska
look
was
to
just that
orientate
home. Oh, you're
myself.
good.
Montana is, oh yeah, okay, there. Cool.
Yep.
I mean, it's still really far from Alaska, but it's less far than I had in my mind. So,
Yes, it's about 3,000 miles.
wow.
So it's a heck of a drive, but it's one of the most beautiful drives I've ever done multiple times.
I can
hmm
imagine. Yeah.
hmm
Wow.
hmm
I'm just processing that in my head. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
but but yeah, I think it's that's coming up for me as well. It's like I'm not from where I'm living. Um, but I feel like I'm home, and I feel like I've lived here for years.
Mm.
which is
Maybe
really
you've had a lot
weird, and
of
it's only been 3
soul,
months.
yeah, a lot of soul history
A
there that
soul
went very well.
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I've been told. So
Mhm. Yeah, just a
yeah,
place that
it's
your
pretty
soul
cool
feels,
connecting to that.
yeah, the soul feels at peace there, and that, like, yes, this is where in past lives things have gone proportionately well for us that we've enjoyed, and, like, wanting to return
Mm,
to that, and you have. You've gone and you've
yeah.
ventured other places, you've experienced different, land frequencies and whatnot and stuff and different ley lines, and then
Mm,
and then through that being, "Yeah, I'd like to come here." And there's such a deeper
yeah,
knowing in that. And then, yeah, and now you're experiencing it of like, I feel
yeah.
fantastic here. This is amazing. Because that deeper, like full level of essence support and connections there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I wish I could gift that to everyone, like, gift that as in, like,
Yeah.
go to the place that gives you that feeling. But finding that place might take someone 5 years, it might take them 10, it might take them 15, or the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Or maybe they never get there.
Hmm. No, I agree. And I've meant, I'm not unique in saying this because a lot of us experience this of like really struggling to find a place where we feel that way, where we feel at home, um, and stuff. And
Mm,
that's been such a struggle and even like a point of depression for me over the years of just like, where the hell am I going to live because I don't feel at home anywhere. If I like close my eyes and think of the one place in the world I want to live, and it's blank, nothing comes up. And to
mm,
feel that of like, but I'm a human and I chose to incarnate on this earth, and then to feel as though I don't belong here is really ungrounding.
confusing.
Very
Yeah.
confusing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what happens
Uh,
when I go back to Alaska.
for me, if I define home, having now kind of been here, there, everywhere, it's, I think now that I've kind of opened up the channels to like energy stuff and that I'm still very much in my infancy in that. But you then, like, I don't feel lonely anymore because
Hmm.
even though I don't see the people that I hold dear in my heart every day like I did in before, I feel connected to them, like, and I feel completely fine and at peace with that. So I think home becomes like connecting to those people on an energetic level. And then when you are with them, no matter where you are and where that shared time manifests itself, suddenly the small time you now have with them is worth, like, I don't know, years of time
Hmm.
because it's so much more enriching.
Yeah. Mm. I love that.
Yeah. That came up for me when I uh, went back to visit the Netherlands for the first time since I moved at the beginning of the month. I was like, this is what time means and this is what home means.
Yeah. And two, it's just, I've been dealing with that trying to say goodbye to Montana because I love Montana, but it's just because I was born here doesn't mean it's home.
No.
Hmm. And I can always
So I
come
think
back and
it's,
visit.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
And I think it's like being aware of that where you're born and raised does not define your home or where you're from. But like,
Hmm.
if you can let that feeling land intrinsically, then that's where your home is.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, that was cool. I had no idea we'd talk about that. That was really
I
awesome.
know, right?
Yeah, I think I'd like to now delve a little bit because seeing as we're kind of, I feel like we're honoring the land in this episode. So if we're
Hmm.
honoring the lands, what is your feeling with around like, because obviously when we have horses, we're not just taking care of the horses, but we're also taking care of the land. We're custodians of that land. So how
Hmm.
does that come up for you and what does that mean?
Yes. So like I mentioned before, my horses are at a family property. On my dad's side, and my grandma and grandpa had this property, and I kind of got to grow up there and spend a lot of time there as a kid. My dad and a couple of his friends built the house that it's on for my grandparents in like the 80s or something. And my grandpa
Hmm.
had sheep and things and stuff. And so I had a lot of childhood reverence for this land and a lot of childhood love for this land. And then when I came back and it was like, hey, that pasture's yours. Go ahead and put your pony on there. I got my Edith, Shetland pony. She came to me first, and it was like, all right, cool. And so then all of a sudden, yeah, I didn't find myself just, guardian to a pony, but yeah, like you mentioned, custodian of the land. And I do often, if not often, at least seasonally, land offerings, land ceremony with, tobacco, always leaving some of my hair, honoring the land and what it's done for the horses to keep them safe, sound, and healthy. My grandmother she passed in 2017, 2018, and she's there an awful lot. Her spirit is there quite often. And it's funny because she was this like old timey Irish Catholic lady, and then I miss energy work and stuff. And so a lot of times I'll be out there doing things with the horses, and she sweeps in and goes, "Oh, this is what you do." And it's kind of her way of saying, "I accept you," which is really sweet, and I really love it. Um, but it's also been really hard to guardian land. Pasture management, things like that and stuff. That's something I've
Mm.
really struggled with. Um, and I think part of it is some of my own wounding, if you want to call it, around being confined. Of like, well, if I mark off this piece of the pasture to let the land grow, that's part of the pasture that the horses don't get access to, and will they feel confined? Um, and the horses are like, I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. It's just like, they always let me work through my things in my own way and in my own time, and offer support as they need to, but they're often very good at just like letting me be, which I appreciate, and stuff, because that's not the dynamic of our relationship where they aren't always the teachers to me. It's not our dynamic. Um, we're partners and lovers in the sense of like I love them, they love me. It's not like a human lover, but like I'm their lover, they're my lover. That's kind of where we always meet each other. And it's also been quite the experience watching the land adapt itself now that there's 6 on there. Having 6 horses on the land has been
Mm.
a really big, like, whoa, just kind of eye opener of the wear and tear that horses do have on land and things and stuff. And so actually it's funny that it's not funny. It's just obvious that this is coming up because this morning I actually was sitting at home drinking my coffee and really feeling like I want to do like a week's worth of land healing. Like every day, doing something for the land, offering something for it, especially as we are coming into winter. I have, you know, hay
Mm.
loaded up for the winter so the land will really get to rest, but I really want to bring in some deep energetic appreciation, cleansing, nourishment that it needs as it settles into winter and kind of goes a little dormant. Just so that it's very aware of the appreciation and gratitude that we have for it coming into next spring when we'll actually be leaving there and hopefully moving to a new spot, all of us down the road, and stuff. And so it's kind of a not ending of a chapter by any means. It's
Mm.
more of a continuation of the story, um, but giving many a blank pages to the land and what it would like to share.
Yeah. No, what's coming up for me is to share about the land that my horses lived on in the Netherlands. So I was there, well, Fion, when I bought him. um, his owner and I looked for somewhere to keep him near me because I said, yeah, I'll take him on, but I need help trying to find somewhere to put him. So we put him on this bit of land between 2 of the runways in of Amsterdam's airport because that was quite convenient for me to get to from my home. And it just showed up. Like we just did a Google search and we found this place and we messaged the lady and she was like, yeah, sure, you can bring him here. So we did. And I had no intention of staying, but I ended up staying there until I left the country. And that was in November 2021. And that land gave me so much because it gave a safe home for them. It gave Theon a little bit a sense, or like a sense of acceptance for who he is, because the people there began to accept him as he is and love him as he is. And it gave them a couple of different herd combinations. It gave me some friendships that I know will last a lifetime. And when they were gone, actually, the first time I went there after they left, I needed to go a few times to honor the land. And I had these moments where I would just cry, and it's because I could still feel they were there. And I felt like by being there and processing they had gone, I was releasing them from that land and thanking the land for the time we had shared there together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love the land.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. And one of the questions, actually, I'll ask the question now. One of the questions I ask guests is, where or what makes you feel wild?
Ooh, a lot, but presently, um, probably my mare Kiara. She's a Mustang
Mm.
from Adobe Town, Wyoming, that I've had for almost 2 years now. She's been in my life for almost 2 years, and has it been a wild time. um, she has not been one to adapt, receive, and accept a domestic life, human relationship, and proximity. And I recently had an aha moment with her when I was working on a wild rag. I do custom wild rags with like freeze brands on them from the Mustangs. And I just was holding her freeze brand in my hand, looking at it, and kind of had this aha moment of like, oh, some of what she quote unquote struggles with is not just hers, but she's also holding collectively for Mustangs in the experiences that they have. And then she kind of brought me in. We went into ceremony and session together, and I asked kind of a little bit more, hey, can I gather some intel on this, some intake? And she's like, yep. And she brought me, to, her herd in Wyoming, and just kind of some of the Mustang collective was there. And she said, some Mustangs are kind of quote unquote categorized as really good advocates for domestication. And that's kind of what they do. They're like, oh my gosh, they took to domestication so well. Look how well they're trained. They're doing dressage or cattle work or what have you. And there's some of us, she says, that are a reminder that we are wild. That even though I will eventually, and this is kind of quoting her, even though I will come around to having a domestic life and relationship with you that is in more proximity and intimacy via connection, she goes, I still will always be a wild animal. And I need you to interact with me as such. And it's not wild animal in this fragility of how, like tiptoeing around her on eggshells. How do I approach her? That's her power. Her
Yeah.
power is being this wild animal. And I can also see myself in her in that space too. But to always honor that she is a wild animal. And no matter how trained she gets, she and many other Mustangs choose and are asking to be received that way always as the baseline. And so for me, that's something that I'm like, okay, actually, like I really need to sit with that because I don't know how to interact that way with her. outside of the tiptoeing around, because that's some of what I've been doing the last 2 years with her, and allowing myself to be patient in the receptivity of that, in my body especially, of course, of how do I approach a wild animal in their power and open to the availability of the depth of relationship that we can have at proximity, at experience
Mm.
together. And that's really fun because I don't know. I've had a lot of experiences with wild animals, bears, moose, wolves, caribou,
Yeah.
deer, all the things. But to be a guardian to a wild horse who chooses to be received as that has been a lot of physiological cognitive time, like my body's intelligence, um, is really asking to be the one to kind of lead that. And that's like what wild means to me right now. Is because I spend a lot of time working with Mustangs, in my life and in work. And it's very easy with a lot of them to forget that they are a wild animal. And I think that's what wild means to me right now is once wild, always wild.
Mm.
But still evolving and adapting. And wild also does not mean incapable of domestic experience. The domestic's great. Big fan of it. It's got its qualms, as everything does, but so does wild. Wild is not easy.
Yeah.
And I think having a lot of grace for both wild and domestic, doing their best to interact and experience together. Yeah, that's wild to me right now.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It reminded me of a piece I wrote. I called it Fionn the Wild. So
So,
I just brought it up. Because Fionn, yeah, people have called him dangerous, people have called him wild, yeah, all sorts of things over the years, but he, again, I think he is, as you were saying, like he reminds me that horses have that wild element to them.
mm-hmm.
And we should honor it and not suppress it, but respect it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the time we as humans condition the wild out of the horses and disrespect it, and then and then people end up wondering why they break hips or arms or legs or whatever else you can break being kicked off a horse. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, you, at least the way I see it, it's like, well, you forget that they are wild. You know, they are a prey animal. We don't notice enough how they're feeling as in our interspecies relationship. And yeah, it's like the whole setting up for success thing. And like if you listen to them and respect them and understand their limits and nurture them, then are you often gonna find your horse over threshold? Probably not.
Mm-hmm. And it always cracks me up too that poetically, the wild is what we love most about horses.
Mm.
That we
It's
sing
what we're
songs and
attracted
write
to.
stories and make movies about these wild beings, and we are so connected to that. We desire for it, we yearn it
Mm.
to feel that. But then in the actual physical interactions, ancestrally for centuries, we've said, but you can't actually be that to horses. You can't be this wild thing that we love about you, that symbolizes freedom, that breathes in this pure essence of oneness with nature. We can talk about it over here in poetry, in song, in movie, in art. But the horse itself doesn't actually get to embody that because we say so. And that creates such a huge disconnect for not only the horse, but for that interspecies relationship. Where, just like referring back to when
Mm,
Bear and Pharaoh were saying, it's kind of like animal communication. If you have this wall up, we can't be received. And it's kind of a bummer.
mm.
And so, same through, this domesticative experience that we've had with horses for however many thousands of years, is we say, we accept you and receive you this way, but not actually as you are in your fullness and in your wholeness, because we don't have capacity for that. We haven't looked at that within ourselves because we've domesticated that out of us, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm slowly mulching my way through Women Who Run with Wolves, and I say
Oh,
slowly because it's taken 3 years for me to get 25% of the way through. But the flip side of that is now I'm progressing more with it because I'm understanding where it's coming from, and I'm at a place where I've grown, therefore I can receive and honor what the author is trying to say to us about the wild woman archetype and connecting that to the horses and honoring it through the horses as well.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still
Morgan is
myself am
saying, by the way, sorry,
like good.
it's a good one. Morgan is saying, yeah, being wild also means grounding yourself and rooting yourself in the land.
Hmm. Yep.
She's just come in there. She's like, hey, I want to say this. I was like, okay.
Of course, Morgan, come on in.
And she has this very like yeah, she's got this very, the way she kind of stands and chills, it's very like, yeah, okay, I'm here.
Mhm.
And it's very balanced. Like the way she stands and grounds is very balanced in her body.
Mm,
Because she doesn't have any trauma. So she is like very connected to the wild horse and the ancestral horse, and that equine collective wisdom. She has that, and yeah, she's kind of giving me this image and this feeling of that zen that she does, where she's just like, yeah, I'm here,
yeah.
and I hold this space for everyone.
Yes. Thank you, Morgan. That's beautiful. Mhm.
Yeah, are any of your horses joining us right now?
They're definitely all here. They've all kind of been hanging out, goofing off. Mm. But nothing in particular to say. Just they're very much here,
No,
and they're like,
they're
we
just
might
there.
jump in at some point, but we're good for now. Mhm.
Yeah, it's funny. I think mine check in and check out, and sometimes, yeah, all three of them are sometimes with me, and then sometimes they check in and check out. And then
Yep.
sometimes I've got, so I live on the Mendips, which is like I don't know how well you know the UK, but you've got like London, and then you've got well, it's quite known as like Dartmoor Exmoor, because there's a pony breed that come from there. Actually, I think they came from Alaska, funnily enough. I think I
Oh,
read that somewhere. Like when everything was all connected, when it was the last ice age, they walked over from what was Alaska to the UK,
oh,
essentially.
amazing.
I think. You have to double check that,
Yeah,
but I think.
to be
And
confirmed.
it was about 150, yeah, 150,000 years ago. And anyway, there's a herd of them that live up, like literally up there,
Oh,
behind my house,
beautiful.
which is really awesome.
Hmm.
So sometimes I go up there and I spend time with them, but then also I've noticed when I'm recording the podcast, they're sometimes here too, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. And cool.
So they're pretty cool. I like them.
Yeah.
It's really cool to observe a herd like that as well. Free. I feel so free around them, like free from any any BS from humans and any BS from human society. They just give me this like emptiness almost to then just relax and be present with them and
Hmm.
be still with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've spent some time with a couple different North American wild herds in Montana and in Wyoming, and it's just an experience unto itself. Like there is
Mm.
no parallel to describe it as, or to like equate it to say sitting in space with, a wild herd of horses is just such an experience unto itself.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I can't put it in words to justify the feeling it gives you. It's just like so peaceful. Like I could have stayed there all day.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know?
and I don't think it needs words. And I think those are
No.
experiences I find myself having a lot more nowadays, is like just these experiences
Mm.
and just states of being that are beyond words.
Yeah.
And those are like my favorite
Yeah.
places to be. Mhm.
And I feel like for me, that's where it's going with the horses is like, I can't really explain in words necessarily what we're doing anymore, but we're just doing our thing and we'll just keep doing that, whatever that is.
Yes. Yes. And that's we can be so, and understandably so, like we humans are very analytical. We love to analyze and, break things down and understand and nitpick them. And like I love that too. It's one of my favorite things. Um and not everything needs analyzing. Not everything needs to be
Mm.
broken down into words in a way that gives us understanding, because sometimes the understanding is the knowing that, yeah, this is where we need to be. This is what's being asked of the space to
Mm.
be experienced this way. And that's like all of the analytics that I need for that, and to let that be okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
So now my herd is like, yep, yep, now they're all just bobbing their heads.
I think mine are as well. I got this wave of like, when they're doing this grounding Zen thing that they do in their current home when I'm there, they're just like,
Mm.
hello.
Yeah, just feel.
They stand at the back of the stable block and they just zen, like as a whole herd.
Mhm.
It's really awesome.
Oh,
Actually,
cool.
I'm going to share this story
Yeah.
that's coming up. So we had a lovely lady called Catherine come and do some cranial work, and she asked me like for which horse, and I said, let's just see who says who it's for when we're there. And it ended up being Zirconia, but I've had energy work done with them in the Netherlands before, but we always had to separate whoever it was from everybody else because they'd just get in the way of each other, um, which was kind of annoying. So, but this time we were able to do the session in the herd. There was no
Mm.
separation. We just did it there where they were when Catherine arrived, and we just did it there. And it was so interesting because Zirconia said, like, I'm not rooted or I'm not grounded. And we have a little pony, Daisy, who has lived most of her life on this land. She's not mine, but she's living with my horses. And uh, Daisy just came forward and offered herself and was like, well, I can do that because I've lived here for like ever. So
Mhm. I'm very grounded.
she just said, I'm going to do that for you. Look, see, this is it. And it was so cool. I like to have all of them involved in that and offer various things to help Zirconia as well.
Mhm.
And I think by helping Zirconia, we also helped all of them too.
Yeah. That's that I call it nature's opulence. It's as I
Hmm.
receive, you receive, we receive. Like everything exists in nature in infinite reciprocity, which allows that, yeah, if one horse
Oh, I
is
love
is
that.
saying, I'm ungrounded, that the
Yes.
horse who is grounded can come in and say, I can support you in this. But because she's being received as she's being asked to be received, she's actually receiving as well. And then Zirconia receives. And then as he receives another,
Mm.
who's doing the cranial sacral work on him, she is receiving him because he is now grounded and
Yeah.
in himself. And as he gets the balance, the appreciation and the gratitude gets to come into her as she's working on him. And it creates this beautiful expression of flow and infinite reciprocity. And it just
Yeah.
is like the way in which things are meant to be received. And I love that your herd is getting to experience that, because that's what I would do with my herd all the time. I go in and I go,
Mm.
if that's kind of what I'm feeling, or else sometimes I'll even ask, or yeah, one of the horses will prompt it. Hey, can we do some work or some magic? That's what they like to say. Can we do magic? Absolutely, let's do magic. And so we all call up our magic, but then we're all kind of working on ourselves, working on each other, working with the land. And again, no words for it, because it just is this like, oh, yeah, like, that's it. There we go. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Not that there's a supposed to
Yeah.
be, but very special.
I love the reciprocity. That's really difficult to
Reciprocity. It's
say. Reciprocity.
yes.
I can't talk my own language, but it's fine. Yeah, because I wrote the latest piece I wrote on my Substack was called The Transactionality of the Horse-Human Relationship and Social Media.
Ooh, I need to go read
And
that.
yeah, it was a good one. I think it was my latest piece, and it just kind of came, and I think I'm just having a look now. So I was looking at, basically the transactionality of our interactions with horses, but also humans, and this whole give and take. And for me, I think I came down to basically saying, like, if I sort of read the last bit. So I said, perhaps the answer lies in us to step into our interactions, whether with horses or humans, from a place of seeking opportunities for exchange, for dialogue, and for shared presence. And that reminds me of what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just taught a horses yoga with horses class a few weeks ago, and that ended up being, I taught yoga, and that ended up being kind of the intention was, what if there was no give and take? What if that didn't exist?
Mm.
What if what if you always had everything you needed, and and you are a closed circuit? So like if the palm of your hand is touching the bottom of your foot, you're a closed circuit. And when you go and interact
Mm.
with a being, you get a moment to open up your circuit and to connect with another being. But it's not what do you take from the interaction, it's what's exchanged. And
Mm.
because it will
What
be like
shared?
that's, yeah, exchange, shared, and that's inevitable. That is a fixed value of interaction. There is exchange from a physical, a mental, emotional, spiritual, and energetic level. There is exchange and there's influence. And it was really fun in the yoga class with these women to go, you know, these horses by default will make us feel better because ancestrally they are one of our caveman brains, which I love our caveman brain. It's one of their number one cognitive green flags for safety. Because horses ensured our safety ancestrally, we see horses and our caveman brain goes, I'm safe.
Mm.
And so, and then, all the other reasons physiologically that they make us feel good, heart rate variability, et cetera, et cetera. But though, I go, all that aside, what will you, or how will you make them feel today when you're with them?
Yeah.
Will they get to look at you and go, I'm safe? Will they be in your
Yeah.
space and say, I feel seen, received, and understood? Will they feel
Yeah.
judged being in your space? And I think that's really important
Hopefully not.
yeah, that's really important when we interact with horses and all beings in life, is not just what do I hope to receive, aka take, from this interaction, but wherein lies the reciprocity that as I receive, you receive, we receive. And if my desire to be exchanged and received as is in wholeness and fullness and witness to this being who's in front of me, beside me, behind me, wherever, across the globe from me, as they are and as they ask to be received via their quantum expression of being the center of their own universe. What does that experience like for the both of us? To be in space together, that by the end of the interaction, again, it only enhances the awareness that there's no such thing as give and take. But that through that infinite reciprocity, we have all received that in which we needed to.
Yeah. Just letting that land.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's interesting when you come into connection with people with those intentions in place, and to have that openness and that removal from judgments, and to try to offer other people that we're safe feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard for a lot of people because they're not used to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big thing for them to deal with, and initially you can be met with defensiveness, and people can treat you pretty poorly, but it's just like, just keep helping them be met where they're at, and then give them that safe feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's not a
I
perfect
had that.
system. It's Mhm.
No, I had that with a colleague recently. I'm not going to go into details because it's quite a personal story, but essentially we'd kind of just been joking around all day, but then something happened where suddenly the mood changed. And through vulnerability, I was able to step up and say, okay, I'll take it from here. You're okay. Like,
Mm,
I see how you're feeling, and it's okay if this is too much for you.
mm. And
And that
it's
was
like
really awesome.
that's amazing. And it's also like Daisy's
Yeah.
back here and she's like, and because you did it not at sacrifice to yourself, because you had the
Mm.
capacity and threshold the same way that she was already grounded to help Zirconia, to say, hey, you're not grounded right now.
Yeah.
I am. And I have capacity for
I
that.
am. I gotcha.
Yeah. And so you were
Yeah.
able to say, oh, something shifted. I've got you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not
Yeah.
at sacrifice to self.
And I think when you have that wisdom from the horses and that awareness of the nervous system and how dysregulation works, and you can then offer that safety to people in capacities outside of the equestrian world.
Yes.
Because I think that's something I'm going to be dealing with myself moving forward at the moment. Is I've been asking myself, how do I bring Elle, who she is for Fionn, Zirconia, and Morgan, how do I bring her into the workspace and into my relationships with people? I'm probably better at it with my personal life, but it's like bringing that blend now into my professional world, which has nothing to do with horses. So, yeah,
Yeah. But that's amazing that you're able to like, that just breathes more of you through you and like through the world, that
yeah,
like closed circuit of self, you're able to apply everywhere. And I think that's so cool that
yeah,
you have those facets of your life too, that you get to have completely outside of horses. But then all that
yeah,
you're learning and experiencing with them about the body and the way that we experience the world around us through within us, that you're like, now I can come into these spaces a little more resourced.
mm.
That's very cool.
Which is totally different than who I was before Fionn. But that's fine. It's awesome. I have him to thank for so many things. And I think on that note, it would be really nice to bring up one of the questions, which is, what gifts have you received from horses that keep showing up for you?
Mm. That was one when you sent the email that I was like, whoa, that's hard. That's a hard one. Because it's so vast. Because they've taught me so many things that show up every day. And I think if I were to like kind of categorize it and then like had to label the folder of everything horses have taught me, it's actually how I introduced to myself at the beginning, is to keep trying.
Hi, so it's Elle again. Very bizarrely, about 40 minutes of my conversation with Elsa didn't record. It's only got me talking and not her, and I have absolutely no idea why, because this hasn't happened to me before. But Elsa, yeah, thank you for your time. I'm kind of a bit bummed that that we didn't catch the rest of that conversation, and like I said, I have absolutely no idea why. But as I said to you, and I'll put this out there to all of our listeners, I absolutely enjoyed talking with you, and I'm well aware that from when we've messaged on Instagram, there's areas that we didn't even talk about, and like next time I want to go down, and I say next time because I really want you back on the podcast. Please come back on the podcast. We'll go a bit more down the spiritual route, because I know there's that whole section like that we didn't even touch, that we've both talked about. And yeah, I'd just love to have you back on, and to everyone listening. You can find Elsa on Instagram as Elsa Janey, so that is ELSA MJANNEY. She will be tagged on this post, of course. She is really awesome. Please give her a follow. She has wonderful dogs and horses, and I was completely drawn to her because of not so much the horses, actually. It was more her dogs, because she posted these wonderful scenes of the mountains in Montana with the dogs running, and they're huskies, so they're quite similar to wolves. And I just remember being completely drawn to her images and to her herd. And yeah, catch you guys next time, and sorry for the technical issues. They don't often happen, but occasionally they do, and I try and work around them as best I can, but in this case I had no idea. So yeah, until next time. And before I hang up, very quickly, in the meantime, I hope to get a couple more episodes out in due course. The next couple of months are very busy for me, both personally, primarily professionally, but also I'm actually working on a really exciting project for horses that I can't say anything about yet, but I will share about it in due course. So on that note, take care, and see you guys all very soon.
I can't remember a time before you walked into my life. You took the broken parts of me and made it all alright. There's an easiness to your grace that I will never know, and every day this feeling only grows, and every moment with you just bleeds into one. You're